Hi Mountain Wargamers, it's Brandon with Mountain Wargaming. I'm going to tell you about some cool objective markers that you can make for your battles, your battle reports, your games, Games Workshop or otherwise. What we used in the first game are some objective markers that I made out of 12mm D6s and some bases. And I've tried this in the past with the larger dice, the ones I like to roll, but they take up a whole lot more space on the base, which is fine if you don't want to do a lot of base work to match it to your army, but I really wanted to have the extra space on the base to make the objective markers match my army. So what I've done is I've taken some dice, 6 dice, and 6 bases. As you can see, the bases are pretty ratty looking. These are things that I've just used to prime models with. So they're all different colors. Really all it needs to be is intact because you're going to be painting over it anyway. So we take these 6 dice, and you can see I've got them numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then what you do is you apply some super glue or whatever hobby glue you like to use and glue them to the bases. You want to glue them still again with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 showing, because you're going to use these as objective markers 1 through 6. After you get them glued to your base, you put the basing material that you like around the dice so that they match your army. If you base your Space Marines, for example, with sand, cover the base with sand so that they match your army. I've also put on some skulls on these bases because I want them to be for my new army, which is a Space Wolves, World Eaters kind of hybrid army. They're like space wolves that worship corn. So there's going to be a lot of skulls. What I've done is I put 1 skull on the 1 dice. On the dice mark 2, I've put 2 skulls, 3 skulls, etc. So after I've got all my basing done, however I want it to look, I primed it all, my gray that I'm using for my space wolves. And now we get back to painting. I've painted all the skulls back with a bone white. And I've put some Space Wolf markings on the dice. What I've done here is I've painted the 1 to have 1 marking. The 2 is split so it has 2 quadrants, a red and a gray. The 3 has 3 sections, etc. Now the shoulder pads on my Space Wolves are going to be red and black, and the majority of the model is going to be gray. So instead of leaving the gray on the top of the dice, I've painted in some black to make the Space Wolf markings complete. Now we want to go around. You could do this in any order, but I chose to paint the snow last, which turned out to be a mistake because I had to go back and touch up some of the gray and some of the bone on the skulls. So this was probably the first thing I should have painted, but you live and you learn. So I painted all the sand to be white because I wanted it to be snow for my Space Wolves. Here's another view where you can see all the skulls. I'm going to wash these skulls with some Agrax Earthshade, or you can use a soft tone or a heavy tone from Army Painter, whatever your paint of choice is, so that you get some detail on the skulls. Then my favorite part, I've used some of my technical paint, Blood for the Blood God. It's also called Blood Effects, I think, for Army Painter, and just covered the skulls with blood. Because this is a corn-themed army, so there's going to be bloody skulls everywhere. I've also taken some hard coat or some gloss paint and went over all the snow so that it's kind of got a wet look to it. Then I took some red ink, put it on my brush, and kind of flicked it across the skulls into the snow, almost to make like a blood spatter effect. And you can see that better in this picture here. I wanted these to look like a rampaging battlefield, that these skulls were just popped off the shoulders and they are waiting there for corn to collect. My next step is that I edge highlighted. So if I've got like a medium gray on my Space Wolves, their edge highlighting is going to be a slightly lighter gray. So on the sides of the dice I've highlighted some lighter gray. And finally I went in and repainted the pips. Now you're not going to want to paint the pips on all sides of the dice, just on the side that's facing up. So on the 1 I've got a 1 gold pip, on the 2 I've got 2 gold pips, etc. And when they're done, you can set these out on the battlefield. They're clearly marked 1 through 6. They're very thematic, they match your army. Here's a picture of the ones that I used in my battle report from our first game with my Dark Angels. You can see that the dice and the Dark Angel is painted exactly the same. They both have the same base coat, the same edge highlightings, the same white, the same base material, and the same little flock of grass sticking up. Yeah, you can just use a dice in your games to mark off your objective markers. You can use poker chips. I've seen lots of things used, but this is really fun because it ties into your army. It matches all the armor on all your Marines or your Dark Eldar or your Eldar or whatever you're playing. You could even go beyond this and paint in some cool specific symbols, Necron runes or Tau septs or whatever. Even on these Space Wolf dice you can add like Space Wolf runes, Nordic runes. I think that would look really cool. But this is just a fun little thing for you to do to get some objective markers, to use some of your leftover dice, because if you've been gaming for a long time, you have hundreds and thousands of dice laying around, and this is a good way to use them so that they don't just sit around collecting dust or stay in a dice bag all the time. Well, I hope you like this tutorial. Comment below, let me know what you think. If you decide to do this with your own army, go onto our Facebook and post some pictures of your objective marker right beside your army and see how they turned out. I'm eager to see what you come up with. From Mountain Wargaming, I'm Brandon.